Well, let's get more on this from Anne-Marie Tomchak, who's in the World's Newsroom for us now. Anne-Marie, over to you.
John, thank you. Welcome to the World's Newsroom, home to 27 different language services. I'm joined by Rafid Jaboori from the BBC Arabic service. Rafid has worked extensively in Syria and Iraq as a reporter, and recently went back to Iraq actually last month, where sectarian violence was bubbling up around then, and it has continued to increase. Rafid.
Yeah, hundreds of people actually have been killed over the last 2 months in Iraq. It's the worst time since 2007, and we're talking about 2006, 2007. That's the worst time for sectarian violence in Iraq, and people are now in Iraq talking about, worryingly enough, about the possibility of going back to those years. It's not there yet. The situation in Iraq is not that bad yet, but it's still, there are worrying signs about it.
What about, so you're saying it's not as bad as it was back in 2006, for example.
Yeah.
What are you hearing from people back in Iraq?
Worries and concerns. People are not sure about the future, are not sure about the equation of power in their own country. The Iraqi government has warned, of course, about the consequences of the sectarian strife in Iraq and sectarianism in general. But the Shia-led government is seen by many in Iraq as part of that conflict. It has its own supporters, but it also has its own foes. So the situation is actually not stable at this moment in Iraq.
Those sectarian tensions are also something that we're seeing a lot of in Syria, and which is believed to have spread or actually have catalysed what's happening in Iraq. What about Syria?
Well, some people would argue the other way around, but of course, the two countries are related. The sectarian strife in the two countries is related. What's happening in Iraq maybe has been motivated by the changes in Syria, when, for example, there was a possibility of the fall of Bashar al-Assad, who belongs to the Alawite minority in Syria, and the takeover of a Sunni regime in Syria. The Iraqi Sunnis were encouraged to rise against the Shia-led government. So they are related, and even the Iraq Prime Minister said that clearly last month. That said, sectarian conflict has come to us from Syria. So yeah, in Syria itself, there's of course a sectarian nature of the conflict. More and more, what started as a civilian protest movement has turned into a civil war with a kind of sectarian background from all parties.
Today we saw clips there from that interview that President Assad did, referring to the conflict and basically saying that the balance of power has changed. Are we looking at a game changer here?
Well, there is a sense of that. A few months ago, last year actually, when I was in Syria last time, there was a sense that the regime was on the back foot. Even many supporters of the regime I talked to could not deny that vehemently. Now there is that sense that, with the Russian support, with the continuous Iranian support, and with some, of course, regional backing from groups like Hezbollah, the regime is now is stronger actually. But we don't know. We don't know the real equation of power. But the thing is, we are looking at an upcoming international conference on Syria due to be held in Geneva, and this is not the right atmosphere for it, because we have both sides now thinking that they can win, the regime and the opposition, and it's very unlikely to see a settlement in this upcoming election, upcoming conference.
So what extent is the support from Hezbollah?
Well, last week, of course, there was the first admission of Hezbollah that it had actually foot soldiers inside Syria. And the Syrian opposition has been saying that for long now. It's saying that Hezbollah was actually involved, it had this fighter. Hezbollah's fighters, of course, would bring different quality to the Syrian forces. They are very well trained, and they have experience from decades of conflict and military operations against Israel. So that's also very influential in terms of the ongoing battles in Syria.
Rafid, thank you very much for joining us. That's it from us for today from the World's Newsroom. You can get more on the BBC website, bbc.com/news.
Okay, Anne-Marie, thank you very much indeed for that.